Mach-Hommy's been pushing every single boundary in hip-hop. From his extremely intricate lyricism, boasting some rhyme schemes I've never seen anything even compared to his extremely enigmatic persona. Then right now where he's pushing out a ridiculous amount of music. I mean, this is his 6th project of the year and a half. This amount of quality packed into those projects is pretty unreal. This is a sequel to Mach and God Fahim's project, Duck Season, Chinese Algebra, a project that had a little bit more conscious focus than Mach's typical rapping. Mach and Fahim are on fire right now. Let's get into it. These keys are super spacey. I don't know what that nigga just said.
You need your own young. I'ma raise my own dad and teach him how to dunk these days out on ledge. Reach a lot of us, we play with our own head. Reach a lot of trust, we be making our own bed.
Oh, them opening lines kind of cold. He's subtly playing with his concept of teaching the youth, building the youth up versus destroying the youth. And he's doing it more so with symbolism. But I like the little punchline that he had, the little wordplay, where one line he was talking about, we play with our own head, and then the next line is, breach trust, we making our own bed. But the head and then the breach, like, referencing to childbirth. And it's kind of like a subtle play of, like, we getting stuff backwards.
No bless, they won't eat Nathan but your flesh. The taste of information in the data is so sad.
Little cannibalism imagery. That verse could have kept going, man. Them vocals kind of mesmerizing.
Ain't no comparison, it's unparalleled. Take charts like Duracell, I'm on the paper trail for the mail. We heavy on the scale, we don't wait, watch for low numbers.
That rhyme scheme was fired by five.
I'm building muscle for the whole summer.
Those keys really gave that song an ethereal feel. It gave this song this dreamy vibe, and then Mach and Fahim rapping about this like struggle for the minds of the youth. I strongly preferred how Mach was rapping about it from this more abstract point of view. I think his verse had a little bit more focus than Fahim's, but I do appreciate Fahim's verse because his more concrete way of rapping about the topic kind of brings home everything and makes it clear what the focus of the song is. Because that nigga Mach tend to be over heads, but I think Fahim did have some nice flows and rhyme schemes in there. Mach-Hommy did too. I think his content was the star of the show on this verse though. Would it have minded a longer verse from Mach, but overall that's a dope opener. This is Shakespeare's. That bass line sound like Sweat the Technique.
You got the bass and then you got the suffixes. It's a subject you cannot replace the one fucking thing without the other living in the inverse. You either hate it or you love it. Niggas make it white belt turn beige, then brown for nothing. If you wanted it black, it turn gray. From Malcolm Cushion, motherfucker better tell him how to play. They bound to buzz.
I can't pinpoint what he's rapping about right now. I feel like he's talking about getting something backwards. It's gonna bug me that I can't figure out that white male turned beige, they brown for nothing. Brown gotta be talking about brown nose. I think he's talking about the industry. And I think he's talking about race in particular with the white male turned beige, brown for nothing. The bar before he was talking about inverse, so the white male turned beige could be talking about black dudes acting like white dudes. That's the inverse of white turning beige. And then the brown, they brown nose for nothing. I could be reaching. I might be trying to make meaning out of nothing.
Blowing back, playing with 12 gauges out in Douglas. We was holding back. My buzzing Mac was paid. We was laying it down for others. Math and Mike Dredd went away. Who stayed around forever? I'm like rocking, ain't nothing funny when I'm rapping.
It don't sound like Sweat the Technique anymore. But that's funny that he mentioned Rakim later in the song.
Free range money got you on the bandwagon. They try to put your point.
Yeah, I think he is talking about the industry. Or maybe just pointing to pursue some money.
Holla at me if you hear me though. I just had to profit the pocket, yeah, fires Imperial. We got some new material. Hear me through your stereo. Running circles round these rap niggas like a merry-go. Carry on, we gon' run the track like a marathon. Rap Optimus Rhyme, my microphone Megatron.
Yeah, it was just a lot going on with that production. I couldn't pinpoint the focus on Mach's verse. It's gonna take me a couple of listens. The little race lines at the beginning of the verse, I think those stuck out to me the most, and those gonna be what I go back to. Hopefully decipher some meaning from that. I did catch a little bit of him rapping about his childhood and growing up in the streets a little bit. Fahim's verse was like a combination of conscious and braggadocio. His verse was all over the place like the beat, and I feel like his verses was longer than Mach's verse. He flexed some good flows. I didn't love any particular line from his. The rhyme scene started out really good, and then it got alright towards the end. When Fahim not at his absolute best, it's gonna sound worse when he on the same song as Mach. Let's get into Tiger Balm Ultra.
But no complaining, I just carry on. Know it come with the territory, overstand the story. Touching paper is mandatory, and that's in the story. Take a good look, but don't stare too long. I do it for my people who ain't aged too long.
Uh-oh, guys. It's gonna be an illustration, so why I don't like Fahim? I already feel it coming. I'm gonna get flack because, like, he got content, but, dog, the rapping is sloppy. Like, you rhyming too long with too long. You rapped alone, like, 3 or 4 times. It's 2-syllable rapping. And then there's a couple 1-syllable rapping in there. He ain't sounding too technically sound right now.
Took a couple losses, but bounced back, I'm still strong. Now we gon' take it to the moon like Neil Arm. Now we gon' take it to the moon like Neil Arm.
You have to repeat
For
that.
niggas who ain't making it, they hit
Oh, okay. Let me let him live. I'm gonna knock him with saying arm instead of Armstrong to fit the rhyme scheme. But Mach started his verse with strong, so that's fire. Take that back. Y'all saw it in my face. I take it back.
When Blake's discharge is bizarre, you get picked off. I know some niggas who would rather get picked on. At least it's a bully to flip. We dipping fish sticks and big tar.
I don't know where he be pulling these references out of, but to get dipped in tar, it's like beyond bullying. That was a way they used to torture people back in like the 1700s. They like dip them in tar and then like put them in feathers. I think they would die from that. If they ain't that, they got seriously injured, but that played into the bullying lines.
Off the rip raw, denotes a modicum of intimate thought. Quit bitching and get lost, you just discharged.
Hey, that sound like post-colonialized Africa, baby. Underdeveloped. Gorgeous sample, man, but Fahim's verse just wasn't enough for me. You gotta have either the standout lines or you gotta have the rhyme schemes. He ain't really had neither one of it. I mean, he dropping a few gems, but they surface level gems to me. Mach's verse was cool, but it was too short. It felt like he was coming off the bench on his own song. He did have a couple bars, so he's coming off the bench. He came off like Lou Will. So, this is Blue Hill at Stone Bars.
Where the college path was hard to consider, had to deliver regardless. Ain't no excuses.
This is a
I
good
can
rhyme
myself
scheme.
a river, stomach aches made my liver quiver. But now
It's a
we
fire
eating
verse so
dinners,
far.
an entree full of them ducks. Your product discontinued. You get a bang for your buck. I serve you out the window, burning embers. My dreads hang just like the main symbol. My main agenda is cash flow in residual. Reaching the pinnacle, raps vitamins with the minerals.
Ooh, that was a tough verse from Fa. I like his imagery, his storytelling right there, and then he kept that ember window rhyme scheme for the entire verse. Outside of those last couple of lines, we got to a 3-syllable that was dope. Tough.
Flip you like Andy Warhol's wig, shut off rig. When
Tough.
you jig with the devil, that's when you starting off big. Hold a bitch in stilettos, can get my hardest hard head. I'm fixing the schedule to fit the soccer moms in. Niggas, I demonstrate my special, never not live. God gave you one, betcha I'ma have about 10.
Yeah, I'ma get to this bread, cause I know cats who ain't lived long enough to see Jigga with dreads. Few shots and they break glass. Dudes flapping they gums, but they royalty statements is big red. Whole lot of red light.
Nigga, office hours is between 9 and 5. Wait, what time was office hours? Am I messing it up? Was it 8 to 5? Y'all seen the movie.
And what that mean when the end is near? There's levels to the shit, ask your motherfucking engineer.
That's dope. It's levels, ask the engineer, the audio engineer checking the levels. Dog, I love how that nigga punch. Ooh, that song is tough. I think that's my favorite song on the album so far. Those strings in that real muffled basic piano really set the tone for the song. I like how all three guys touched on their topic of making it from their past and their past mindset, and they did it in their own ways. Fahim had the most straightforward style, but he got in some dope flows, good rhyme schemes too. Mach-Hommy tackled it from a more abstract way, and then your old Drew punched his way through his verse. I think Drew's verse is my favorite on that song, but I thought all three verses were dope. This is Chimay Bleues.
Felt like we was under the sea, the high rise was least cooperated. Better sugar baby yeast, it's a squeeze out of favor. Cracked the oven, took a peek, and your keys got deflated. I'm not the one to play with, you can ask Keys.
Man, his internal rhymes, the rhymes that come in the middle of the bar as opposed to in the end, are so crisp. And the fact that he's matching up his cadence with the internal rhymes, so the internal rhymes following the same beat every single bar, or at least what he's doing so far. Sick.
Took it back to brothers saying patience, you won't get it there if it's imitation. Lead the craft singles for the squares, get all the care bears, get information. You talking spicy, crazy with Haitians, there ain't no chair there to situate you. All that cassation is in the bitch's nature.
That verse was crazy. He had this food scheme going from start to finish. He started with, I think he said sugar-free at the beginning, then he had the quiche line. He had to lead the craft singles for the squares line. This ain't playing in the food scheme, but the chair situated line was clever. Then that talk spicy with a Haitian capsation. The capsation, that's a little, I think it's a flavor in chili peppers. That verse is crazy.
Let me tell you a Toy Story, whip color potato bread. Riding with this cowboy to blast your potato head. Ask about me in the local news, I'm the favorite. Ask about me in the local news, I'm the favorite.
Back when you was twirling the cane like you was Michigan J. I gave my instruments permission.
That's tough. Y'all know the little frog with the little cane. Come on.
Play, blowing whistles and giving niggas the shakes like Iverson in 96. My shit official, niggas can get it today. Lights get shot out if it's too bright. Hype men pop out, niggas move like lightning pop out. Put you on a better ice and food fights with splice blends, hostile.
This rhyme scheme
make your
is
light
crazy.
bend, watch out.
It's like he's running two rhyme schemes simultaneously because he's running one in the middle of the rhyme and then one on the end. And having internals ain't nothing crazy. I mean, it's impressive in and of itself, but it ain't uncommon. But what makes it so crazy is the fact that he's letting the internal rhymes hit on the same part of every bar too. When normally when you're doing internals, you just kind of throw them in when you can.
Easy like the college dropout, maxing out on the ATM. I'm pulling all the guap out, packing like championship stadiums when niggas pop out. Ain't no taking it to the judges, it's gonna be a knockout.
I rock with that song. I think this project so far is showing a bigger separation in talent between Mach and Fahim than the Dollar Menu 4. Really, even those Triz EPs did either. Mach's first verse was crazy. The rhyme schemes were there. That wordplay, he had like this extended metaphor, or I won't say it's extended metaphor, but more so this theme, this food theme throughout that all the punchlines kind of played into. And then even in that second verse, the rhyme scheme and the flows were just ridiculous. And Fahim wasn't bad, but it just sounds really regular up next to Mach's verse. And I think there's a huge separation in their talent anyways, but on projects where I think they really played off each other really good, like Dollar Menu 4 or Dollar Menu 1, that difference in talent is balanced because Fahim's punching ability. So where Mach will get in some really subtle wordplay, Fahim will hit you with this straightforward punch that you can get immediately. But he ain't really punching right now. He's kind of relying on his rhyme schemes and his content, and both of those was looking kind of regular compared to Mach. But solid song. This is Love Is Luh.
100-foot yacht reefers, the book got deeper. The fervent niggas took the less, the hookers got creeping. It's the book about creaming, the crooks out scheming. They lurking in the bush, they beg me for Brazilian, but I'm worse than it looks. I keep the wax spinning, now I'm flourishing because
his wordplay is so subtle. It's not easy to follow him, but he's had a couple of really good lines. The hook playing into the anchor boat theme earlier, and now he had a Brazilian line playing into the wax line.
Bitch, double up, I always been a blessing. Way back from when you used to call me Pepsi, I will always be a bestie. I'm refreshing and I'm hastening, it's a perk. I had to make a million hesitation for the caper to occur.
I'm fully capable of the gamma.
Man, this production is really growing on me. I'm assuming this is Sadu Gold or Wino Willie because those are the only two niggas insane enough to pick a sample like this. But the vocals and then the drums are just not kicking in. It's just outside of the box for any production that I've heard.
This is kerosene guillotine, my guillotine's military with jeans, solid as a figurine.
This scheme is fire.
Along with some machine, my accounts doubling, rap star bubbling. Ain't no peace treaty, just tossing all
rapid
pictures.
fire.
Exposed to weakness in your heart. We burn you like swishers, ain't talking no walk in the park. I'm hunting like Richard, cop the whole shopping cart. I'm popping like clickers, that's why.
You know when this nigga got a song with Luh in the name, it's finna go hard. This one ain't no different. This was the hardest song on the album to me. I thought Mach's verse was fire enough. Well, first of all, this beat was crazy. Completely off the wall. You can't even say it's experimental with how minimal it is, but it just felt different. But Mach's verse was crazy. Fahim spit his best verse of the album by far. Those flows and rhyme schemes were amazing, especially the first 10-ish bars of his verse. Only issue I got is I think Mach could have had a longer verse. This is Gossamer Wings.
All week long hustle and sacrifice. I can't take your advice if you don't walk.
This is growing on me.
Triggers get squeezed like condom is going empty. Society is shifty. This economy.
Bro, that's terrible.
You just another duck for the season. I flip you like an apple turn.
Flip you like a vinyl drop, it's quintessential, it's cyber rhyme. Flip you like a scam, Bible scam, diamond wise, harmonize, Tekla, Deborah Damo. Can't stop the guy, octagon, septic, when septuple, French promenade. Spit out the quatrain and let the duckets trip. Let me let my bucket drip like we hit your head with taps. Chopping block left you niggas on the editing room floor. We move more.
Oh my goodness.
You lose wars. I'm too raw to lead a goofball. You all flip you like foosball.
Yo, we got 3 flip you like lines in the same verse. Nah, no cap. This album really growing on me. I do think the production is actually legitimately better on these last couple of songs. Love Is Luh, Chimay Bleues, and then this song here. But it's the production style in general that's growing for me. It sounded weird at first, but now the weird is seeming more like art because you can tell it's intentional as you get deeper and deeper into the album, and it's a particular sound that they've been going for. Outside of that first song that had this real spacey vibe, most of these songs sound like they were sampled from like 70s, 60s TV shows. Not the typical set of crates that I think most producers would be digging through. How good you think that verse from Five is gonna be dependent on how good you think that squeeze you like condiments bar was. Yo, say it out loud. That bar was trash. Hey, Mach though. Yeah, Mach different, dog. Mach different. Mach is an alien. His verse was ridiculous. The intricacies in this rhyme scheme was just mesmerizing right there. And then the rapid fire delivery, just different. This is Wiz Marquee. I like that name.
Pristine. You keep the yams, play the France, say the Portugal, sink the tea. The thieves all day.
Yo, on everything. Sadu go do hard drugs. You don't smoke weed and think to flip this. This is crazy.
The whole crown crazy, know you got way too much thickness. The way you bounce that big black heart, you gonna make them come get it. That style cable long, in it. 6 followed by 21 ciphers, got angels on. 6 followed by 21 ciphers. Find me on them acres, like Pat Riley on the Lakers. I'm like Pat Riley in Miami. Mach-Hommy, wanna wager? I told my wisdom we should run a Triz Nathan.
Yo, where did this bass come from?
I told my wisdom we should run a Triz Nathan.
Is this the chorus? That's Triz Nathaniel to you.
Non-stop train running, so keep them trains coming. Treated like a pump and dump, that's how cold my veins running. Father of many styles, yeah, I got plenty styles. Getting busy like I'm busy bone, but anyhow.
Y'all see why I make fun of this nigga? It's not my fault. That nigga said getting busy like busy bone. I was vibing out. Y'all not finna ruin my mood.
I ain't lying flat up on the dresser for applying pressure on the system. Told my wisdom we gon' run the Triz. Nate, my native language is the paper I'ma need to translate.
Bro, I see the vision on this project. I see the vision now. That song is sick. I like both Fahim and Mach getting into that braggadocio bag. I will block that Fahim line from my memory and pretend it didn't happen and say that this song was sick. I thought this beat was crazy to start with, but then when the bass came in on the little pseudo chorus that they had, then I like how if I repeated the chorus a little bit in his own verse, that song is tough. And this project is coming together because a lot of Mach's bars on this song was going over my head. I know he was talking mostly about macking, but it was still, I think there was a little bit of depth that I was missing. This is Turbo Tariff.
So ever choose to wear the clown shoes, let them flop. This is decision, niggas switching out the woos for the yacht. Lifestyle revision, sticking tanks, moving the guap. I finished listening, I switched the bamboos for the rocks. They mannerism missing is an
rhyme scheme right here.
Top 3. I bet the crowd boo when it's soft.
He kept a 4-syllable rhyme scheme going for like 8 bars right there. That's tough.
I'm trying to see about the nerve, and let me see. If you can't feel what I can feel, then you a bird. Man might swerve it. So fuck the world as it spins like turd.
Nails by the bedside, the heights that I'm going, they can't corrupt the righteous minds with the idols that they showing the titles that I'm holding. Stay close like cellular phones. I play the post like Elijah Wan. Akeem, yo Fahim is hot as a pull of hellfire.
All right, that's a gorgeous sample. I will say it was more in the box as opposed to these more obscure and outlandish samples that's been on the last few songs, but the sample is gorgeous nonetheless. I don't love the chorus, but I appreciate the song structure. I really rock with Mach's verse. I thought that intricate 4-syllable rhyme scheme that he had until like the last 2 bars of his verse was fire. I rock with Fav's verse here. I do think it was a considerable notch under Mach's verse, but I think it was still a good verse. Let's end this thing out with 30 Stone Grouper.
I say I shake loose, so call me Ice Cube. Don't call me Shay if you don't know me, nice move. I told my lady I was bulky like booze. Got my Bible cool with the HQ like juice. I might groove, I too start to mark my territory like a nut. I'm you. I'm me.
I don't know what's going on here.
Inside a loop of bars free if I'm down.
Get numeratic like calculus equations. Knocked off the poverty, I heal from my abrasions. I hustle to the well, dry up just like raisins.
Do I even gotta say anything?
And my name being mentioned in daily pages. Wanna talk to me first and get with my liaison. Parading over rappers day to day, not annual. I made it happen, I did it without a manual.
Me personally, this was my album. I would have ended this at track 10. I don't really know what that was. Mach can normally sound really good in that melodic bag, and it adds another level of dynamicism. I don't think that's a word to a particular song, but here it just seemed kind of unnecessary. I didn't care for his verse. I thought Fahim's verse was good until he got in that dried up like a raisin line. At a certain point, like enough's enough. We can't be having all these landmines. But overall, I think this is a pretty dope project. Now, if you're comparing it just to Mach's standards, I can see if you don't particularly like this, but this album really started growing on me like halfway through. It sounded kind of too different. The fact that Mach was being really abstract, I think that can kind of take away from the first listen. But as I continue to hear that style of production, and as Mach continue to flash these really intricate rhyme schemes and flows, the album started sounding better and better to me. There's also a good portion of the bars where I didn't get all the meaning from. There's these schemes that I knew something was there, but I just didn't have enough time in this one listen to really grasp every single aspect to it. So I think as I listen to it more and more, I'll get a better appreciation for this album. I think Fahim was a little up and down. I got a love-hate relationship with him anyway. Some of his verses were just really lagging behind Mach. Some of them were a little bit up to par. I think he might have only had one verse, so I thought his verse was like slightly better than Mach's. But even then, I gotta give credit where credit's due. His rapping here was above average. I'm just, once again, comparing it to Mach standards. And overall, this is a strong output from Mach. I don't know what the consensus is around this album, but I think whatever it is, I think it's gonna grow on a lot of people as they continue to listen to it. And Mach's continuing on with a really prolific year.